Entertainment Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 5, and my thoughts on this episode. This episode was just boring. Just really boring. We had 3 stories going on at the same time, and each one was boring. Oh, actually, we had a 4th story as well, and that was also boring. This episode felt like a waste of time. Like, just a massive waste of time filler episode. Like, I think I know what they were trying to do with this episode, but it just... Oh boy, it was just dull and stupid. And they get a mistake with the Romulans again. Because they're making a certain Romulan act human. And it's not Spock, by the way. It's somebody else. But yeah, this episode felt fucking slow. It didn't have anything interesting. It had a stupid new race name in it. I think I know what the name is. I'll say that in spoilers, but... God. Yeah, this episode was just terrible. Not terrible for being woke. Just terrible for being so fucking boring. And Pike, yeah, he's still in the whole phase of I'm your friend, I'm all your friend, I'm not the captain, I'm just your friend. He's like a fucking counsellor. Jesus. I'm just going to get over the spoilers now. Let's just get this over with quick. So if you don't want to hear my score for this episode, it's a 2. I mean, that's all I can literally give it. That's a 2 out of 10. It didn't piss me off to the point where I wanted to kill anybody, but it's just a waste of time to watch. So I'm going to go into spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, even 3, 2, 1. So this episode is about... Well, it's about Spock and his fucking fiancée. And we start off with Spock having a dream about his marriage to his wife. I forgot her name. I don't know what the fuck her name is. I'm going to call her Spock's wife, okay? So he's getting married to his wife, but she notices that his ears have turned human, and he starts to panic. Then she says, you know how to fight yourself, the Romulan part of you, not Romulan, the Vulcan part of you, and the human part of you have to fight for marriage. And they do, and turns out it was all a dream Spock had. And pretty much he's worried about his human side and whether his fiancée sees him as human or Vulcan. And Spock tells us they're back at Earth on a station for repairs with the attack with the Gorn. And apparently this station is important because it's the first one ever built, and after the Klingon Federation war, it's finally been fixed, this station. Yes, you remember that war? You know, that war that lasted, a year or something? God, that was such a waste of time. Like, one of the most important wars in Federation history, and they just killed it, man. What a waste of time. Anyway, whilst the Enterprise is back at Station 1, I think that's what it's called, apparently a race called the Rongolians, I think that's their name. It's just, oh god, this whole fucking race was stupid. Anyway, I think they're called Rongolians, and they are interested in joining the Federation. Well, actually, the Federation are interested in becoming allies with these people because they're right next to the Klingon Empire, and it would give them a buffer zone between them and the Klingons. Because the Klingons are apparently still, a danger to the Federation. After they pretty much surrendered to the fucking Federation. My god, Discovery really fucked the Klingons. Anyway, so the Rongolians are not sure about joining the Federation. And an admiral has gone to talk to Pike and tells them, listen, we need to convince them to join the Federation so that we can have an ally against the Klingons if there ever is a war between us again. And Pike agrees, and he takes Spock with him, but Spock has to tell his fiancée, who's come to visit him, that she has to wait for him to do his work for the Federation. Now, what they get wrong about Spock's wife, or about Vulcans altogether, is they choose duty over everything. So, the fact she's acting like a human, like you're not spending enough time with me, a Vulcan wouldn't give a shit. She would actually be pleased that he is more focused on his fucking work than he is on her. That's literally the fucking culture. You choose your career over your family. But they, again, these writers are not writing Vulcans like Vulcans. They're writing them like humans. So they keep trying to, they make her act like a Vulcan, but the way she acts is like a human. Like, why would she care? Spock is doing the right thing. He's choosing his duty over his marriage. Again, Vulcan culture. But they're making it look like it's against their culture because she's pissed off with it. It's like, no! That's anyway, we could go in all day about that. So Spock told her that, listen, when he's done his stuff with the Rongolians, he will come back and spend the rest of the time with her. She agrees, he goes off. Pike and Spock then listen to the Admiral about, how this species acts, because apparently they met with Tellarites first, because that's what you want to send when you want people to join the Federation. Fucking Tellarites. They're going to insult people. God, this is stupid. Again, it was just to have them show a picture of this Rongolian insulting people, and apparently it's supposed to be funny. I don't care. I don't get it. Fuck off with all that shit. Anyway, so Rongolians come in and say they would like to talk to Pike and Spock. And we don't get to see the first meeting because we then go over to a scene of the pilot, the doctor, and a bunch of other crewmen are going on leave, and they decide to insult. Well, apparently they call the number one and Lana, suckers of fun. Fun goes to die when they're around. And number one, she is pretty annoyed about that. Now I want to get through this stupid storyline quick because it was so fucking boring and pointless. I'm just about done with it, man. So number one and Lana catch two crewmen, apparently going to do a spacewalk or something, and they then have this stupid interrogation scene where Lana is acting like a fucking, interrogator, and number one is acting like a friend, the two crewmen that they are interrogating. They then find out apparently these crewmen were playing a game of Enterprise bingo, and so number one decides, let's do it as well, to have fun. Let's prove the crew wrong and say that we can have fun too. And so they just spend the whole episode doing random shit to complete the game of bingo on the Enterprise. And that's their fucking story altogether. What a waste of fucking time. Anyway, let's go to the more important story. So Spock is having problems. He feels like his fiancée doesn't love him for who he is, and she's more worried about his human side than she respects his Vulcan side. So he goes to a bar and just sits by himself. Nurse Chapel, who's apparently on a date with another guy who obviously fancies the fuck out of Spock because they've been doing this for a couple of episodes now. And she goes over, talks to Spock and tells him, sort yourself out and go talk to your fiancée. But in the back of her head, she wants him to leave his fiancée and date her. Which is how the episode ends with her. But anyway. So Spock agrees. He goes to his fiancée. They decide to do some Vulcan in experiment thing where they switch bodies for a second to see through each other's eyes. The experiment goes wrong, and Spock's wife gets stuck in Spock's body, and Spock gets stuck in his wife's body. You know, it's kind of like, what was that called? What's that film called? Oh, Freaky Friday. That's pretty much what the yeah. This episode was just basically Freaky Friday. So they switch bodies. Pike then, well, the Admiral. We then go to another scene where the Admiral tells Pike that the Rongolians don't want to talk to him anymore because apparently he's just pissed them off. But they do want to speak to Spock again, and so Pike has to go get Spock and get him ready to talk to the Rongolians again. Again, I could be getting the name wrong in this species. I do know it has something wrong in it, but I don't know. I don't really give a shit. This episode is just that boring. So Pike goes to get Spock. Spock and his wife try to kind of trick Pike into thinking Spock is Spock and Spock's wife is Spock's wife. But they pretty much just give up and just tell Pike what happened. Don't know why they didn't just do that in the first place, but fuck it. So Pike now has to take Spock's wife because she's Spock to the negotiation table because they just want to speak to Spock. So they both go and talk to the fucking Rongolians. There you go. And then Spock gets a message from his wife's partner because his fiance is also on a mission to get a criminal who wants to, turn himself in. And so Spock talks to Chapel, and Chapel tells him pretty much, why don't you do her job for her and make her happy that way. I'm just going to get through the Spock, bit quickly because that's also boring. So Spock meets with the fucking criminal. The criminal then insults Spock by telling, because Spock is in Spock's fiance's body, he starts to insult Spock, saying he's only half Vulcan. And then, Spock gets all emotional and decks the cunt. After he insults Nurse Chapel, so pretty much confirming that Spock does have feelings for Chapel as well. I really don't care about a love triangle. I really don't. Like, why is this in Star Trek? Who gives a fuck? It's like Chapel is not going to go far with Spock, is she? Because she's not in the original series. Neither's Spock's fucking fiance, so... Anyway, so Spock brings in the criminal his fiance was looking for, and his fiance, talks to the Rongolians, tries to convince them to join the Federation, and, she kind of just says that, she's also afraid of them joining the Federation because maybe the Federation does destroy cultures, maybe it dilutes them. She understands, and then Pike, because he pretty much sees what's happening, she's kind of scared that Spock's losing his Vulcanness or whatever, and tells her that Spock's the best among us, blah 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 blah. Oh god. Anyway, yeah, pretty much telling her that Spock isn't just a member of the crew, he's someone who helps people, he helps the Federation, and that apparently comforts her, and the Mongolians feel a bit more happy about the Federation after that. So, Spock and his fiancée then go to the Doctor. The Doctor then puts some crap on their heads, and that apparently helps them to switch back into their original bodies. And that's the end of that. Oh, we do get Spock and his fiancée have a little chat in their room, where they pretty much just confirm they still want to get married to each other, and that Spock will choose her over his duty because he loves her. Yay! And the next scene is just the Rongolians pretty much saying why should they join the Federation, and Pi pretty much, saying some home truths like, yeah, you don't really benefit from joining the Federation. Like, you'll just be joining us and then becoming enemies with the Klingons. Like, there is no benefit of them joining the Federation. Like, the Federation lost against the Klingon Empire. They lost. Again, in real Star Trek history, the Federation and Vulcans, the Federation and Klingons fought to a stalemate. That's why they went to a Cold War. That was the whole point of it. Like, the Klingons couldn't get deep enough in the Federation to defeat the Federation, and the Federation couldn't do the same to the Klingons. So what Kurtzman did was pretty much show the Federation as weak and shit. So why would the Rongolians join the Federation? There's like no benefit here. But Pike says all that shit, and apparently the Rongolians respected that because they end up joining the Federation. And that's how that story ends. And then the episode ends with Chapel talking to the pilot, and she's pretty much just confirming that she dumped her boyfriend because she's got the hots for Spock. And that's the end of the episode. It was a boring episode. It's a waste of time to watch it. Like, really, if you haven't watched it, don't watch it. There's nothing in this episode. Literally nothing. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. Entertainment Mode Soldier. Bye.